right, guys, making money in real estate, that's the easy part, but keeping it legally, efficiently and protected, that's where most investors screw up. Trust me, I know. So if you're flipping contracts in your own name and you're ignoring business credit, or you just plan to figure out this tax thing later, this episode might save you 5 figures or more. Because listen, it's not what you make, right? It's what you keep. We've all heard that. So today I'm going to be joined by Tommy Thornburgh with Prime Corporate Services. He and his team specialize in helping new investors build the foundation for real businesses, and not just new investors, but experienced investors too, who are looking to expand and just really fine tune what they've got. But listen, it's not just about the paperwork, right? But strategic entity structuring, credit positioning, and smart tax planning that's the stuff that protects your profits and your future. So in this episode, we're going to dive into why your LLC setup might already be costing you money and how to fix it, how building business credit, right? How that can open up all kinds of funding and protection, and really the first couple steps that every new investor should take with taxes and estate planning before it's too late. Guys, this is the Closers Club, where real estate investors come for up-to-date, tactical, no-fluff strategies to close more deals, protect their wins, and build generational wealth. No theory, no guru fluff, just real talk with people doing it every single day. Let's get into it. Welcome to the Closers Club. Tommy, my man, thank you so much for coming on. I've been looking forward to this all week. Let's jump right into it and hit it straight. Most investors wait until there's a problem before they even think about LLCs or legal structure. What is the biggest blind spot that you see investors making when setting up their business, and how is it costing them money, or even worse, putting them at risk?
I love it. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. One of the biggest mistakes, I think it all starts with the foundation. It's easy to talk to real estate investors about this because you're never going to build a house on the sand, right? Nor are you going to buy one. So if you can make sure that your entities are in place, they're set up the right way, they're taxed the right way. I always tell people to think about 3 things when they're worrying about entity structure.
Okay.
Privacy and protection. How much privacy do you want? How much protection do you need? Tax benefits. Profit or loss, good or bad. How do you put yourself in a better position? And 3, credibility. Show yourself as a legitimate business, not only to your clientele, but to banks and lenders as well. I'd say it all starts there.
Right. Yeah, that's so important, right? A lot of times when we're just starting these businesses, so many investors start out flat broke, or in my case, I was half of broke. I didn't even have enough money to be considered broke. But yeah, I was not thinking down the road of tax consequences or even banks, and making sure that everything was going to be done correctly and calculated and bookkeeped, and all of that type of stuff was the furthest thing from my mind.
Yeah, it's the amount of people that say, I'm just going to wait until I'm generating income, or next year I'm going to make sure to get ahead of this.
Yeah.
Everyone's got a story. I was going to ask you, how do you know? Ask me how I know, right?
Yeah,
I've made the mistakes. A lot of really successful investors have made the mistakes, but the sooner you can get ahead of asset protection and tax savings, the better. It allows you to make such more educated decisions.
I'm going to tell you, I've been doing this for 22 years. When I was starting in Florida, I went to the local RIA. They had somebody who was recommended for accounting. Great. No problem. Had my little fix and flip company set up for Florida. But when I moved to Tennessee, right, we partnered with this local guy, great friend of mine, still good, but I let him handle the entity setup, and he set us up as a corporation, not an LLC, which I don't know if you know about Tennessee, but we pay this franchise and excise tax, and it has cost me well over $100,000 in the last few years, because I'm having to pay this extra tax that if I was just set up as an LLC, I wouldn't have had to do. So at some point I realized it, but I've already got like 40, 50 properties in this corporation, and it's just an absolute abject disaster. And I've talked to every lawyers and accountants, and once they're in there, it's a real pain to get it out. So, when we're saying this, guys, we all plan to be successful and to do a lot of deals. Getting this stuff set up on day one that's why I was so important, or so excited about talking to you here today.
Yeah, this is great. I mean, from a personal experience I had as well, the first lawsuit I found myself in was the very first investment property that I went to purchase. Wow. And kind of a similar story. Knew, liked, and trusted the individual, and handshake agreement on a $400,000 purchase price. Whoa. Took 2 years, and it turned into 520. So that was a big learning experience in the very first deal.
Yeah. And there's, yeah, it's tax savings. Like I think that's the one that people think of the most, right? Is setting up your entity correctly. And maybe you could talk about that. But then there's also the protection side where, if you're doing this business long enough, you probably are going to get sued. It's just going to happen.
That's one of my mentors said, what's cool about your business is you get to help people understand that it's not if you get sued, but when you get sued.
Right.
And as depressing as that is, having your personal and your business separated, giving yourself asset protection, all it's going to allow you to do is focus on what you ultimately are after, and that's generating more revenue.
Right. Yeah, because it's so easy for someone to just, slap a lawsuit on you and, take literally every single thing you've got. So do you guys recommend anything beyond LLCs, any trusts or anything like that? Or is the LLC enough to protect you?
Yeah, great question. So a lot of times once we're going through discovery, a couple of the phases that we're looking at is yes, everyone should have an estate plan, trust, will, living will, power of attorney.
Okay.
There's a full industry out there that's focusing on probate deals specifically, right? So let's avoid that. And if you don't have an estate plan in place, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have one tomorrow, but let's put it on the to-do list. Let's put it on that blueprint, right?
The to-do, I like that.
From there, we try and identify where you're located, where you're going to be doing deals. Not all states are created equal when it comes to corporate law, as you know. So Delaware and Wyoming are very popular states because of the anonymity that they provide.
Okay.
A lot of our real estate investors don't want their name or their address listed on state websites. So I personally have a holding company that is set up out of Wyoming, and it doesn't do any business. It owns my other businesses.
Oh, okay.
So that way, if there is a lawsuit, they're not seeing Tommy Thornburgh and my address. They're seeing that it's owned by a company out of Wyoming where my name is not listed.
So how can I be in Tennessee but have a company that's set up in Wyoming? How does how does that work?
So your Wyoming holding company would be set up first, and then it would own your LLC out of Tennessee. And the Tennessee one's the one that you're doing business out of. Okay. So if something happens there, it's not your name, your address. Hopefully you have like a registered agent or something. So it's not set up under your
which
address.
Is terrible, which is probably bad.
Yeah.
So what if I've already got my Tennessee corporation or Florida corporation or LLC, whatever it is, set up? Can I still set that up afterwards?
It usually doesn't make sense because we would then have to file an amendment to change it over. And on the history, it would still show that you were the previous owner.
Right.
So that's one of the things that we want to identify when we talk to people.
See, guys, this is why you got to do it right out of the gate.
Yep. Do it right from the beginning, or make a plan that benefits you moving forward. Keep your Tennessee where it is right now. Moving forward in the future, let's look at privacy, tax benefits, and credibility, the way I explained it earlier.
Nice. So how does all this roll into like business credit and making sure that, as we go down the road that we're going to be able to borrow money and fund, the things that we need to be doing? So
a lot of times people always ask, like, can I just use one LLC for everything? Or we've all heard not to put all our eggs in one basket, right? But no one tells you what eggs to put in what baskets is the problem.
That's true.
So if you can separate out your liabilities, we really like to identify the type of income that's being generated. So if you're wholesaling or you're fix and flipping, you're generating active income, which is taxed at the highest rate, right?
It is.
So 10 to 37% on the federal level, there may be a benefit of having an S Corp or an S Corp election to pay a salary, pay yourself a distribution, but it also allows you to avoid half of your self-employment tax, which is Medicare and Social Security.
Right.
On the flip side, if you've got a lot of buy and holds, let's put those in a different entity for passive income. And once you have the eggs in separate baskets, now we go and identify where you're generating the most income or the most active income.
Okay. And
now you can go through what we've got a 7-step process that walks investors through how to build and develop business credit and corporate funding to have more funding access for their business.
Well, that sounds like it'd be a pretty handy thing to have.
Sounds
awesome.
I've never met an entrepreneur that says, I wish I had less money.
Less
right?
money,
That's,
right? Geez, I wish I had less access to credit and banks and credit cards and all of that type of stuff, right?
thanks, but no
Um,
thanks.
wow. Okay. Well, all of those things sound really amazing, but my God, my brain just like shrivels up into a prune when you say all that, because that's not the stuff most investors are good at. None. No, like, have you ever met a real estate investor that's like, geez, I really love tax structure? Like, it's 1 in 100, right? There's very, very few of us, because most of us have a very particular, kind of brain type in the way that we operate. And I think that's where we make mistakes. I know for me, I've got, tax return stuff sitting on my desk, and it's literally the last thing that I want to do, right? Like, gosh, like, what do you say to those people? Like, I guess it's find somebody amazing that can do this for you.
Yeah, you're not the only one. We'll
I
start
know
there.
clearly, because I've talked to people. There should be a support group for real estate investors.
Now that's a business model right there. That's good.
Yeah.
The first thing is, once you have those entities in place,
Mhm.
a lot of times it's set it and forget it and focus on what it is you're doing. If you can do an annual review at the very least,
Mm.
a lot of times that's sufficient. And then as you build and develop your business credit, you can do it through gas cards, you can do it through store cards.
Mm.
But what I like to really focus on is, from a tax strategy standpoint, the first time anyone listening to this, and I'm sure you can relate, the first time you see and write off your home office
Mhm.
and you realize how beneficial it is,
Yeah.
you have a home office for the rest of your life, because it's a massive benefit when it comes
Yeah.
to tax savings, right?
Mhm.
And the tax code is kind of a joke. It's over 70,000 pages.
Heard that.
So finding areas of the tax code that actually align with your goals in your life would be the
Mhm.
next step.
Right.
If you implement 1 to 5 new strategies, depending on what you can handle, right? But maybe it's paying your kids. Maybe
Yeah.
it's renting out your house from your business.
I have 2
Maybe
English
it's,
bulldogs. Do they qualify?
if they are service animals, there are ways that can happen. Hey, my English bulldog just passed away. She
You
was
haven't
11 and a half.
Oh, man, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I've had, a bunch of them, Buddy and Bella, and, we do use them in some photos from time to time, I'm just gonna say.
I love it. I appreciate it. I still can't walk past the doggy door without
Oh,
turning into a baby. So here
I'm
we
so
are.
I tell you, I'm the biggest asshole in the world, but dogs bring me to my knees.
Yeah.
We'll get off on a whole different tangent here with that. But yeah, I mean, there are just so many things that people can do. I don't think they have any idea. But you hear stuff, or you're flipping through TikTok and your Instagram, and you're seeing all these tax strategies, and they all sound so great. You're like, yeah, I should do that. I should do that.
Yeah.
Right.
And it kind of ends there.
Yeah.
2 things that we've done on the tax side. So we currently have about 300 employees in our tax division. We've got about 150 accountants.
Mhm.
We file over 50,000 tax forms a year. And
Oh, shit.
I can just tell you, for anyone listening, the advice I can give you on what saves the average of the most money
Mhm.
is the least exciting per anything tax related. But please track your expenses. Maybe you hire a bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Maybe you use QuickBooks or a designated credit card that's business related. But what we found is, our entrepreneurs that use something to track their expenses
Mhm.
save an average of $9,200 more than they did the year before. So if it starts there, you're tracking your expenses, and then going into the fourth quarter, October, November, December, now it turns into business shopping spree season.
Right.
If you know what your tax liability is, maybe you buy a property, run a cost seg, accelerate the depreciation, put more money into marketing, softwares, but it gives you the power to make those decisions without feeling like you're shooting from the hip on
Right.
business related investments.
Yeah, I think, that is absolutely crucial for me. I've designated cards that I use, and I still think I could even fine tune them just a little bit more. But yeah, that makes it just very easy. I know that everything on the American Express Platinum is this. So that's and I'm really much better at it than I used to be at keeping all of that stuff.
Good work.
That's yeah. So let's talk about this. I know we've got a few minutes left here, but this is one of the things for me, because I've got a bunch of different companies. Every time I get on a plane, right? Every time I'm like, oh my God, if this plane goes down, what's going to happen? So, you briefly mentioned it earlier, but let's estate planning and wills and like having some kind of plan in the event of a catastrophe and an asteroid takes you out. Is that the kind of stuff that you like help your more advanced investors with or clients, or is that just everybody? Talk about that.
We help everyone with it. I mean, obviously it's more money, more problems, like a lot of areas, but they're great problems to have. And to your point, whether you're on a plane or whether you're hit by a bus is the common term.
Yeah.
Having some peace of mind of having those things in place is critical. And once again, every state is different, but the goal is to avoid probate. Right. Probate is the process where the state's going to step in and take a lot of that money that you've worked so hard to build. Finances aside, the amount of emotional damage that goes to families when dealing with any sort of a probate or a death situation, if you can cross your T's and dot your I's and understand where your entities are, how the money's flowing, what's in your will, who gets the grandfather clock in comparison to the watch, there's a lot of areas that can get very, very detailed. But at the very least, in most cases, having a living trust is the easiest way to avoid probate.
Okay.
And we have a wide range of clients. We help people that are brand new. All they have is a bank account and a house, all the way to people that have several businesses, millions of dollars a year, several properties, and everything in between. So it's not one size fits all. We've never done two estate plans that are the exact same. That's for sure.
All right. Well, that was my question. I don't want people to think that's not for me, right? Or I don't need to do this yet. I think for everybody, again, whether it's the clock or your stamp collection or your coin collection, right? Or your Beanie Babies, right? Like there's got to be a plan for what happens to this stuff. And you should be involved in that. You shouldn't just leave it up to the courts to decide after the fact.
Yeah. Kind of a funny story now, but one of the craziest stories, we always kind of joke about it. All the attorneys in here use it as a story. We had a client that unfortunately passed away probably like 7 or 8 years ago. And the old station wagon was not a part of the trust or the will.
Oh,
and I'm
really?
talking
a pour-over trust where everything when they died just rolled into the trust.
$7,000 car that didn't even run, that everyone in the family's fighting over. It's like things are hard enough from an emotional standpoint, let alone money. So the more that, and the other thing that's nice is if you review your estate plan every year or every 3 to 5 years, you're going to have life changes. You're going to buy more properties. You're going to start more businesses.
So when you're like, I'm writing the niece out. She's out. She's done.
Tough year for niece Kelly. Sorry about that.
Right.
But yeah, it's one of those things that I know that this is one of the least exciting topics for real estate investors. And those of you that are still listening, good on you. But if we crawl before we walk and we say entity structures in place, assets are protected long-term, let's put 1 to 3 different strategies into your business a year from a tax standpoint. Because once you pay your kids once you get those dogs modeling, it becomes part of who you are as a business owner for years to come.
Right. Yeah, I think you just have to build those habits. So listen, Tommy, I know there are going to be people like me that are listening and they're like, that sounds great, but I'm a little embarrassed to call because my stuff is an absolute shit show, right? Like clearly you've helped people that are in worse shape than, what I think I'm in. Like what happens, and we'll drop a link here. What happens when they book a call with you guys? Like kind of what does that process look like so they understand what happens next?
I'll start by saying we've seen worse. I can tell you that right now. And if we haven't, we'll make sure to tell you because we like to keep that worse in place.
Yeah.
We've had people we've talked to that have never filed taxes. We've had all sorts of crazy situations. So on this link, thank you for dropping that. I appreciate it. What we'll do, it's a free hour consultation.
Oh, wow.
And we've set up over 175,000 businesses. So anywhere from entity formation, business credit development, tax preparation, bookkeeping, tax filing, tax strategy, and estate planning. Anything that we can do to help you. The consultation is free. All of the services will be discounted based off of coming through that link.
Yeah.
So make sure you utilize that link and we'll take care of you based off of what we can do to help and bring value to you and your business.
Well, I love it. Anybody that's had that number of returns filed a year and that number of entity setups, surely, and would you say 300 people in your office, that you are going to be able to handle pretty much anything. Clearly, anything that some real estate investor is going to throw at you guys. So, if you're listening to this and this even remotely feels like something you need to be doing, this is what I can tell you. I've done a lot of great things in my life and in my business, and the thing that I regret the most was not having this stuff set up correctly at the very, very start. So listen to someone that's been doing this for 2 decades. If you're just getting started, make sure you're setting everything up correctly from the beginning so that you're not paying franchise and excise taxes like I am till the end of time, or until I sell these properties and have to take a huge tax hit. So click this link, go over there, book a call. And, Tommy, his crew, they're very cool. They won't make you feel bad about yourself. They'll tell you it's okay. And they'll get you on a plan to get everything set up and straightened out correctly.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. And it's get the most out of that call that you want as well. If you need help with business credit or taxes, just let us know and we'll go through some discovery and see if there's areas that we can help. That's the whole goal.
Yep. Guys, like any call, show up, have your stuff ready, be prepared to talk, and get all of your questions answered. So Tommy, thank you so much. I literally was looking forward to this all week. I definitely wanted to make sure that we got this out there. Now is a time, even if you've already done your return for this year, it's time to start thinking about next year, because it comes up so fast.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for having me.
Awesome. Guys, if you like this, please like, click, share, thumbs up, do all of the things, and, pass this on to somebody else who you may know needs help with their taxes and bookkeeping. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you come back for more. Thank you for watching the Closers Club. I'll see you at the closing table.